rise to salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, call the roll of the members.
Councilor Recupero. Councilor Teneri Garcia.
Present.
Councilor Robinson.
Here.
Councilor Taylor.
Here.
Councilor Lopez. Councilor Vega Maldonado.
Here.
Councilor Avellaneda.
Here.
Councilor Brown.
Here.
Councilor Vido. Councilor Nereles de Jesus.
Here.
Councilor Judith Garcia.
Present.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You have 8 members present. Mr. President, you have a quorum.
At this time, we'll move on to our memoriams and celebratory resolution. We have a celebratory resolution introduced by Councilor Calvin Brown and Councilor Leah Robinson regarding Martin Luther King Day.
Whereas Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., an American Baptist activist and the pastor of the historic Dexter Avenue Baptist Church in Montgomery, Alabama, became a spokesperson and leader in the civil rights movement. And whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a man of courage who advocated for racial equality through nonviolent resistance. And whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. dedicated his life in pursuit of justice and unity amongst all Americans until his assassination in 1968. And whereas the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Public Service is celebrated each year on the third Monday of January to support and promote service and civic engagement to commemorate his legacy. And whereas the People's AME Church Planning Committee has invited Bishop Brian Green from Pentecostal Tabernacle from Cambridge to be the keynote speaker in the collaboration with various community groups and businesses such as Chelsea Public Schools, Chelsea Black Community, Chelsea City Council, and Chelsea Interfaith Alliance. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the members of the Chelsea City Council, on behalf of the citizens of Chelsea, hereby recognize the efforts of the People's AME Church, led by Pastor Walters Land, and the Chelsea Black community in exemplifying true leadership and representing Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s vision of unity and the beloved community.
What is the wish of the council?
Adopt the resolution under suspension, Mr. President.
Councilor Brown asked that we adopt this resolution under suspension. Seeing no objection. Councilor Brown, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to speak briefly. Every year we celebrate Dr. King's birthday. In the last few years, it's been actually kind of tough because the celebrations have not been in person. I want to thank the People's AME Church for continuing the work that's been done throughout the years and recognizing his birthday. Not only recognize, but offering community to come together and engage. I want to thank my colleague, Councilor Robinson, for co-sponsoring this resolution. And I know there will be something, we just don't have the number for the Zoom that will take place, but it will be on, hopefully it'll be in the Chelsea Record this Thursday. If for those that want to view that on Zoom, you feel free, or Councilor Robinson may also have some information on that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilor Brown, I'm sorry, Councilor Robinson.
Actually, I'd just like to thank the group for continuing what Pastor Whitley has been involved in these past several years, with the schools, the Chelsea Black community. Debbie Washington is playing a big role this year, and they will be doing the breakfast virtual, and they will be sending out information pretty soon in regards to how to be able to access the breakfast. And once again, I'd like to thank the group for continuing this effort in regards to Martin Luther King.
Okay, seeing no other speakers, we'll now move on to the next item on our agenda, which is the public speaking portion. If there's anyone in the audience who would like to address the City Council, please step forward, state your name and address. You'll have 4 minutes. Seeing none, we'll now move on to the next portion of the meeting, which is the approval of the minutes. We have the regular meeting minutes of December 20th, 2021.
minutes under suspension if there are no objections.
Council Robinson asked that we accept the minutes both from December 20th and January 3rd special meeting. Seeing no objection, we'll move on. We have communications from the city manager.
First communication from the city manager, notice of waiver intent. Dear councilors, pursuant to the Administrative Code, Section 112.02, I'm writing to notify you that it is my intention to promote Mr. James Cowan, 1 Rob Road, Beverly, Massachusetts, to the position of Field Operations Manager, and to grant him a waiver from the residency requirements set forth in Administrative Code Part 4, Section 112.01. This is a steelworkers union position that is open due to the retirement of Lam Vu. Mr. Cameron has been employed by the DPW since 2003. He was the only internal applicant for this position. In accordance with Section 112.02, I request that you provide me with any comments on the proposed waiver within 7 days.
We have a motion from the council.
Accept and file a communication under suspension if there are no objections.
We have an acceptance of the communication under suspension from both Councilor Brown and Councilor Robinson. Seeing no objection.
The next communication from the city manager reads, a notice of residency waiver. Dear councilors, pursuant to the Administrative Code, Section 112.02, I am writing to notify you that it is my intention to hire Mr. Jeffrey Timberlake, 59 Lubeck Street, Apartment 5, East Boston, as a part-time ESOL instructor, and to grant him a waiver from the residency requirements set forth in the Administrative Code, Part 4, Section 112.01. There were no Chelsea applicants for this position. In accordance with Section 112.02, I request that you provide me with any comments on the proposed waiver within 7 days.
Councilor Robinson.
Accept and file a communication under suspension if there are no objections.
Seeing none. We have another communication from the city manager regarding appointments and boards to commissions.
We have appointments to boards and commissions. Dear councilors, pursuant to Section 4-2 of the Charters of the City of Chelsea, I'm writing to recommend the following individuals to boards and commissions in the city. For appointment to the Community Recreation Advisory Committee, Ms. Melissa Covino, 15 Lewis Street, Chelsea, for a 3-year term expiring in 2025. For appointment to the Youth Commission, Ms. Emily Menjivar, 17 Lawrence Street, Chelsea, and Ms. Isabella Coimbra, 4 Eldridge Place, Chelsea, for 1-year terms expiring in 2023. For appointment to the Traffic and Parking Commission, Mr. Michael D. O'Shea, 124 Addison Street, number 10, Chelsea, to serve the remaining term of Renee Hibbage, who has moved out of the city. This term expires on February 7, 2024. Mr. O'Shea has resigned from the Board of Registers of Voters to accept this new position. For appointment to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board, Ms. Michelle Diaz, 163 Pearl Street, Chelsea, to serve the remaining term of Noriles de Jesus, who must resign due to her election to the City Council. This term expires June 30, 2022. I respectfully request your approval of these appointments. Resumes are attached.
Councilor Robinson.
Move to a second reading under suspension if there are no objections.
Seeing none. The appointments per our charter are moved to a second reading. They will be voted upon at our next regularly scheduled meeting on January 24th. We have a communication received from the city manager regarding the appointment to, the appointment to the Human Rights Commission and a request for conflict of interest law for Ms. Catherine Palencia.
Appointment to the Human Rights Commission and request for a conflict of interest law exemption. Dear councilors, pursuant to Section 4-2 of the Charter of the City of Chelsea, I'm writing to recommend the appointment to the Human Rights Commission of Catherine Palencia, 745 Broadway, Chelsea, for a 3-year term. A copy of Ms. Palencia's resume is attached. Because Ms. Palencia is currently employed by the city as the children's librarian, the city solicitor has determined that she needs an exemption vote by the City Council from the statutory conflict of interest laws in order to accept this role. Accordingly, I ask that the City Council also approve this exemption. All of Ms. Palencia's duties to the Human Rights Commission will be outside of her normal working hours as a city employee, and she otherwise meets all other statutory requirements for granted exemption under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 268A and 20. Thank you for your consideration.
Councilor Robinson.
Move to a second reading under suspension if there are no objections.
Seeing no objection, that moves to a second reading. Again, any appointments will be vote upon January 24th, our next regularly scheduled meeting. We now have communications and petitions to the council. We have a communication received from City Clerk Jeanette Citron White regarding the special election warrant for the Northeast Metropolitan Regional Vocational District ballot question on January 25th, 2022. Councilor Robinson, do you ask to waive the reading?
I'll ask to waive the reading, accept and file a communication. There'll be some coming up on the new business.
Seeing no objection, we are waiving the reading. We have an order that comes up under new business. We have a communication received from the city solicitor, Cheryl Watson Fisher, and Clerk Jeanette Citron regarding the vacancies in Districts 4 and 5 for the school committee members. Dear members of the City Council, the City Clerk has received notice from the District 5 School Committee elect member Henry D. Wilson stating that he declines to take the seat for the 2022-23 term. There was no other candidate on the ballot. Additionally, there was no candidate listed for District 4 School Committee race. In both cases, the write-in candidates failed to obtain the 20% of the votes. Therefore, we have 2 vacancies as of today. Pursuant to 3-2 of the City Charter, the City Council President shall, within 30 days, call a joint meeting of the Council and School Committee to act to fill those vacancies. There are more than 80 days until the next regular city election. We are prepared to meet with the new City Council as to review the election results, the next steps, and the rules and regulations that have been adopted in the past. Thank you for your consideration. City Clerk Jeanette Citron White and I are available if you wish to discuss the new changes.
Accept and file a communication under suspension. If there are no objection, there'll be some coming up on the new business.
Seeing no objections, that communication is accepted under suspension. We have a communication received from City Council Roy Avellaneda calling for a joint committee with the school committee regarding vacancies in Districts 4 and 5. Dear councilors, in response to the letter from the city solicitor and city clerk regarding the 2 vacancies in the school committee, I am calling a special joint session with the school committee. In accordance with the Chelsea Charter, Section 5, filling vacancies, a joint meeting shall be called to fill those vacancies. The meeting is scheduled for February 7th at 7 p.m. in the City Council Chambers, 500 Broadway, Chelsea, Mass. Anyone interested in the positions can drop off resumes in the City Council office or school superintendent's office, or email fmalera@chelseama.gov or vdyer-medina@chelseama.gov. Deadline to apply is February 3rd, which is a Thursday, 2022 at 4 p.m. What is the wish of the council?
Accept and file a communication under suspension if there are no objections.
Seeing none. Council Brown.
I'm in agreement with accepting it and filing it and moving forward on the 7th. I just think we should do some outreach and make sure that folks are available to know this is going on. I request that we also have this sent to the Chelsea Record and also on our social media so folks would be aware of that there's an opportunity. If you live in these 2 districts, and you can tell the districts, we said 4 and 5, but they have to live in certain areas of 4 and 5, just to make it clear before we get to the meeting on the 7th. So I just want to give it as much as notification as we can. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Council Brown. If there's no objection, I'll speak from the chair.
No objection.
Seeing no objection, to follow up on Councilor Brown's concerns and comments, I want to make sure that we get this information out to our residents, and I want to clarify that I know the City Council recently voted for new district lines. However, the lines for these seats are the lines from the 2021 election, not the 22 lines that were changed. So that is number one, that we have to make sure that when there are parties that are interested in submitting their resumes to be considered as a candidate for the school committee in Districts 4 and 5, those are the lines that we must adhere to. And of course, we will try to promote this not only on our city webpage, on our Facebook page, but we'll reach out to both the local Chelsea Record newspaper and also the El Planeta, and El Mundo newspaper. And I hope that we have received numerous candidates for those positions. And as stated in the letter, the joint committee, a session between both the city council and the school committee members, will be held on Monday, February 7th. All committee members will be here, and we will, at that point, interview the candidates for each of the respective districts. And then that night, we will take a vote on the candidates to fill those positions for the remainder of the terms, which is essentially almost a full 2-year term. Any questions, again, can be directed to our office or the superintendent's office. Moving on to the next part of our agenda, we have new business. We have an order introduced by Councilor Avellaneda regarding the approval of the special election warrant for the Northeast Metropolitan Regional Vocational District ballot question on January 25th. A copy of the warrant can be found at the Chelsea City office, 500 Broadway, room 306. Councilor Robinson.
Yeah, we do need a roll call on this measure, but I'd ask the clerk to clarify the vote for the council.
A yes vote would be to have the warrant approved for the special election, and a no vote would, you don't want it.
And just a point of inquiry, I just want to verify something when we speak on this. City Manager, am I correct that the election, they be held on the 25th, that not all the voting sites will be held open, but just the City Hall, and people will be voting here at City Hall? Is that correct?
Correct. The only polling location is right here in the city council chambers.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that the voters and the listeners and who are watching this, and we make sure that everyone is aware that if you want to vote on this special election on the Northeast vocational vote, you have to come to City Hall. We will not be opening our regular polling sites at the Williams School, nor the Public Safety Building in Prattville on Sagamore Ave, nor the St. Rose. So those 3 voting sites that are usually open will not be the site, but rather just City Hall.
I think it's a recognition that the expectation is this will be a very, very light turnout, and so this will be the sole voting location.
And the voting will be in the chambers, City Hall chambers, correct?
Correct.
Okay. A yes will be to approve the election warrant, a no would be not to approve it.
Council President, I wish to speak.
Yes, first Councilor Brown, then Councilor Judith Garcia. Councilor Brown?
I'm kind of confused about the changing of the voting locations. I understand that we believe that it may not be a high turnout, but if we're going to do this, we need to inform the voters. And not all voters are watching this here. I think we have some responsibility of sending out some notification to the voters to allow them to know that on this special election, which is a special question election for regional school district, that if you like to vote, then you would have to come to City Hall. I think we're missing a big point here. You know, we've always argued that folks are, you know, far from St. Rose or far from the Williams School, and now we're just giving them one location. I don't know how that's going to help them. Folks who was far from the Williams School or far from St. Rose or far from the fire station. I just think this is a big decision. This vote carries a lot of weight. The city of Chelsea is right in the thick of this vote regarding funding, and we need to make sure that each and every voter that wants to have an opportunity to vote, first and foremost, that they know where to go and vote for this election and what time of operation if it's changed. I just think we need to give the voters more leadway in just stating that it's here at City Hall because we believe it's going to be a low turnout. That's not a good reason for me. I'll be voting in favor of the warrant, but I think we need other discussion on regarding of the election itself. And maybe we can get clarification from our city clerk and get her input in it also. Thank you.
City Manager, I see you raise your hand, so I'll allow you to speak further on this matter.
City Clerk Jeanette Cintron-White can confirm this in the morning for the council, but I believe every registered voter in Chelsea has been mailed out a notice about this election.
Okay. And just to clarify, the vote, for those who are going to the voting poll, a yes vote would be to approve the loan and would commit the City of Chelsea to be participant in that. A no vote would be to deny the loan order for the building of the new high school. Councilor Robinson? I'm sorry, Councilor Garcia, you were next.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I will say this, I think that Councilor Brown hit on some very strong points. My biggest concern, I couldn't hear what City Manager was saying, but my biggest concern is access for voters. You know, we're asking voters to come out on a special election day, to show up on January 25th, something that we haven't really heard about. This is a huge decision for our community, for people who are watching, for the councilors who just joined this body. This is an opportunity for everyone, and I say this on the record. We should be mobilizing to ensure that all of your constituents are aware of what people are being asked to do and what they're being asked to vote. If people don't show up to vote, and if people do not know what they're voting on, what we're essentially approving is for Northeast Vocational School to fund a monstrous project that is worth $317 million. And from that, Chelsea is being asked to pay a share of $58 million that we as a city cannot afford. And I will emphasize that again. Chelsea cannot afford to pay $58 million for this school. So if any of the councilors here could do anything, is to mobilize and ensure that our voters are aware of what we're asking them to vote on and how to vote and how to oppose this, because it's placing us in a horrible predicament economically for futures to come. So on the record, I am saying I will be mobilizing for the few days that we have to get out the vote on January 25th, which is just 10, 15 days away. So hopefully we can open the doors of access for voters, and I hope all of you guys really do mobilize and really take your job seriously in ensuring to educate constituents as much as we can. So it's frustrating, it's sad, but that's all I have to say.
Councilor Robinson?
President, I will not be supporting this order. I brought it up when they came to speak to us. I felt that when we had a certain amount of students at Northeast, we could never increase it until other communities did not want to send their kids to the vocational school. And I feel in my heart that we saved Northeast Vocational School, and now we're being penalized by asking us to pony up $1.9 million for over 30 years. If this money was spread out between all those communities who participate, then maybe we can have some dialogue and a conversation of how we can get there to build a school. We do have a number of students at the Volk, and I think it's about 248 students, or it could be a little less. But in my clear conscience, 1.9 million is what we take in new growth a year. So if we have to expend that 1.9 million towards a new school, we will not, and I'll repeat, we will not be able to do any new projects for the city of Chelsea for 30 years. Thank you, Mr. President.
Anyone else? Councilor Brown?
Thank you. I just want to be clear. We're only actually voting on the warrant tonight. The other stuff is what contains and defines the ballot question will take place on the 25th. But just want to be clear, I'm voting in favor of the warrant tonight, and when we have to go out and discuss, as Councilor stated, we can do that. But I just want everyone to be on the same page. We're voting on the posting of the warrant, which we have to do by law. Thank you.
Counselor Todd Taylor.
So I'll just be brief that I agree with the sentiments of my colleagues tonight and that it is important to get people out to vote in this special election that is expected to be extremely low turnout. Chelsea, probably more than any other of the communities involved, has the most to lose. So I will be doing my part to mobilize voters, not just in my district, but across the city of Chelsea, to vote against this measure. Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing no further speakers, the clerk will call a roll. A yes vote is to support this measure to be on the ballot, to approve the warrant. A no vote would not approve the warrant.
Councilor Recupero absent. Councilor Teneri Garcia?
That would be a no.
Councilor Robinson? No. Councilor Taylor?
Yes.
Councilor Lopez absent. Councilor Vega Maldonado?
No.
No. Let's see. Councilor Avellaneda?
Yes.
Councilor Brown?
Yes.
Councilor Vido absent. Councilor Norvelez de Jesus?
No.
Councilor
Shin.
Judith Garcia?
Judith Garcia?
No, Judith Garcia.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4 in favor. 1, 2, 3, 4 opposed.
Can I interrupt real quick? I'm sorry. If it's a yes vote, then we are giving the opportunity for folks for it to be on the ballot and do the vote, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so I'm changing can I change my vote? I'm sorry.
Melinda
It is
Vega wants to change
necessary.
her vote to a
I
yes
just
vote.
don't agree with it, so, yeah.
5-3.
I would also like to change mine.
I think
so,
there's some
sorry.
it sounds like there's some confusion on our new members.
This is
Again,
only to have the
this is
election.
only to have the election and put this in front of the ballot. All elections have a warrant that is presented in front of local cities and towns, and the local body has to vote for what the ballot is going to state and must be adopted in order to have that ballot presented to the voters. So this is simply a matter to allow us to have the election and what is going to state. It's mandatory for us to approve the ballot measure. So if there's a confusion, specifically, I understand we have some new members. If you want to change your vote, please let me know now.
I would like to change my vote, Nuria Diaz.
So Councilor Donaire Garcia and Councilor Norieles de Jesus both like to be in the affirmative.
Okay.
And to confirm, so will I.
Yes, we already have that.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in favor. Let me see.
Councilor Robinson,
1
one.
opposed, and 3 absent. Okay, 7 in favor, 1 opposed, and 3
Three absent.
absent.
Okay. Gonna have to get you some white out.
Okay, next.
Counselor.
put that up, yeah.
The next item on our agenda is the order introduced by Councilor Avellaneda regarding the City Council to approve conflict of interest exemption pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 268A, Section 20B, for Ms. Catherine Palencia's position as a member of the Human Rights Commission. Councilor Robinson, do you move this for a second reading?
I'll move to a second reading under suspension if there are no objections.
Seeing no objection, that measure passes under suspension. We have an order introduced by Councilor Avellaneda regarding a subcommittee on conference to meet with the state-chosen Soldiers Home designated developer. Councilor Robinson?
adopt this unanimously under suspension if there are no objections.
Seeing no objection, I will now, if no one objects, I'll speak on the matter. Seeing no objection. So officially, we have already scheduled the September 19th meeting, conference to meet with the chosen developer for Soldiers Home. But in reviewing our record, we realized that there was no actually order introduced for the subcommittee meeting, so just to make it proper, the order is set tonight. The meeting is scheduled for a subcommittee on on January 19th. So this January 19th is the meeting at which the City Council will be meeting with the chosen developer by the DCAM, the State Department of Capital Assets and Management. As many of you know, an RFP, a request for proposal, was sent out for the redevelopment on housing for military families and Soldiers Home. They have since chosen the developer, and this is the opportunity for the City Council, prior to the filing of their building plans with the city, to meet with them, the chosen developer. So that'll be scheduled September 9th, I'm sorry, I keep on saying September, January 19th, upcoming Tuesday, at 6 p.m.? 6 p.m. Next order.
Introduced by Councilor Taylor. Whereas pursuant to Section 2-10 of the City of Chelsea's Charter, the City Council has the authority to establish an annual salary for its members. And now therefore be it hereby ordered by the City Council of the City of Chelsea that Section 2-60A be amended of the Code of Ordinances, City of Chelsea, Massachusetts, by striking the current language and replacing with the following. Effective upon the City Council term commencing January of the year 2024, members of the City Council shall receive an annual salary of $28,000.
Councilor Taylor.
I'd like to move to a subcommittee on conference under suspension, if there are no objections.
Seeing no objection, that matter will be moved to a subcommittee on conference, and we'll schedule that meeting.
That's all you have, Mr. Chairman.
At this time, I'll ask any of my colleagues if they have any announcements, public announcements. Councilor Brown.
Thank you. I was passed some information regarding the Martin Luther King celebration that will take place. The information, if folks are out there that want to participate by Zoom, you can look at their website and get this information. It's www.peoplesamechelsea.org, or you can call 857-346-6905, and they'll have that information available if anyone would like to watch that by Zoom. Thank you.
Any other announcements? The only announcement I'd like to make before, if anyone has any moments of silence, just that we are aware the city has mentioned that we will be experiencing some very cold weather in the next 24 to 48 hours, and that if anyone is aware of anyone, specifically maybe anyone who's homeless, if they see anybody that was out there, please call the police, and we will have the hub team go out and make sure that no one is sleeping outside overnight, and just to dress warm. Councilor Brown.
I forgot about this announcement. Thank you for giving me a chance. Again, some of the residents up on Admiral's Hill have asked me about the home testing kits. Some of the seniors up there state that they know they've been given out, and a lot of the seniors up on that hill are not have the ability to get to some of these locations. So I just want to state that in early conversation with the city manager, we're going to be trying to look and see if we can make that available. First and foremost, we have to get the kits. We have no kits now, and we're looking at maybe the earliest in the next 2 weeks, where the state can give us some kits, and then we have to talk to the developed owners regarding how we can make it available for those seniors up there that's in need of these kits. We know it's very important for everyone to have an opportunity to have these kits. Unfortunately, we don't have enough kits for everyone in the city of Chelsea, but we also want to be fair about it. We know some of our locations throughout the city they're designated for places where folks go in and they provide these services. Most of the places up on the hill are not such, and if we can, we'll be working on your behalf with the council here to try to make that available. Thank you.
At this time, I'll ask if there's anyone who'd like to have a moment of silence, and I have a message here from Councilor Vega Maldonado, if you'd like to mention somebody.
Can I speak?
Yes, you have the floor.
I would like to ask for a moment of silence for a good friend of our family, Edna Cosme, who passed away a few days ago. We're very devastated with the news and trying to process everything. You know, I feel for her family, her children, and, you know, this was a long battle, and she put up a good fight, and, you know, I just want to show my condolences and respect to her family and her loved ones, and obviously that was my Aunt Titi Carolina's best friend, so I know that she's hurting right now. A moment of silence for Edna.
Councilor Robinson?
If we can remember Councilor Coupeau's brother, and also for all the people in New York who perished in that awful fire that took place.
Also, a friend of the city here, Been living in Chelsea for a long time. His sister passed away over the weekend. She was 97 years young. Condolence and prayers are with that family. He's originally from Cambridge, but he's been a resident of Chelsea for some time. And also the folks in Philadelphia, right before that fire in New York, with 13 folks passed away, 8 children. It's just horrible over the last few weeks with fires.
That concludes our meeting. Thank you, everybody.